In this video, I'm going to go ahead and VOD review a Silver Viper and talk about specific concepts to help improve their gameplay. So let's begin. So the first thing I really want to look at is the map they're playing on, which is Fracture, and we really need to get into the map strategy of Fracture because it's very unique in comparison to other maps, right? On Fracture, the attackers have two spawn points. They have this side and this side. The dish side, we'll call it, and arcade side, and obviously this the A main and B main side, right? And as a result of this, like if the defenders don't fight for space on defense, they get pinched, right? Because you can go ahead and come from two sides. So if anyone AFKs on this map without like a proper plan, they just get pinched from two sides. So it's like really important to contest space on this map as a defender, and that's why it's kind of hard in solo queue in rank to go ahead and do that, because most people just want to hold angles, right? But it's very difficult on Fracture, which is why it's more of like a T-sided map in ranked, and then vice versa maybe in competitive pro play, right? So let's go ahead and talk and see the first round here, where we'll see what our Viper decides to do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play it without comms. Comms are important, but I watched the entirety of the VOD, and the comms are kind of irrelevant in this specific case because we're gonna talk about the big picture problems this Viper had. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward it a little bit since it's starting at like 30 seconds. And we're going to go ahead and look at the Viper's buy first. So Viper decided to go ahead and buy a molly, or no molly rather, and just an orb. So in my opinion on pistol, it's better to have a molly and not really the orb, since you don't really get much value from the orb on attack, rather than since you have like your entire big Viper wall, right? That's and the molly gets a lot of value because you can use it for post plant, and you can use it if in case someone gets stuck like in a corner while you're like taking space on attack too, right? So I don't really like this buy, but it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. So it seems like our Viper's not deciding to go ahead and put up the wall at the start, and they're all 5 towards A. Now this is something I really want to go ahead and cover because this is a problem, since on this map you can get so much value by pinching a site, again like through dish if you're going A main and dish, or by going ahead and having someone lurk so they can hear the spawns from arcade and then maybe flank them from behind if they don't have like the proper utility to deal with that. So for example, if Killjoy is here on A, right, and she has her set up A, they don't have a utility, like the proper utility to go ahead and watch like a flank from arcade. So it's very important to like piece together the information, and then you can kind of decide where you want to lurk. And as Viper, you really want to lurk since you want to use your team and always have like your wall up, and as a lurker you're kind of like baiting your team. You don't want to go first, you want to go ahead and have your team take space first, and then you want to go ahead and show and take space after, since most of the defender's attention is on the rest of your team, right? So your wall can have like a maximum uptime. So let's go ahead and play out the rest of this round here. It looks like it's all 5 people going ahead A main. They're just running it down. There's no utility used here. The wall's not used. Everyone's just running at them. They get Phoenix flashed. No one's playing anti-flash. They're not thinking about the opponent's util, even though they saw them on the minimap. And now Fade's here as well. So now they have the information that there are at least 2 people here, right? There's Phoenix and Fade. So as a result of this, they should rotate to B, and they do a little bit late. They should have done it as soon as they saw the Prowler. But they do go ahead and rotate to B rather. And now this is the other thing. Whenever you're playing Viper, always angle your walls up, because you will mess up your walls when you're aiming them low sometimes. So you need to just have a habit of throwing your walls up in the air, so that you know there's no chance of you like messing it up. So it looks like they're gonna go ahead and do this. And now I want to talk about this. Like Viper decides to go ahead and plant the bomb here, and this is a huge mistake because right now the defenders have man advantage. Your chamber's 1 HP, you're low yourself too as on Viper, and you really want to try and look for a play here. So since they have man advantage, you want to try and make an aggressive play. You can either tap bomb, or like kind of like fake it and try and like look for kills, and then maybe try and get like a plant down. You could, and if you do want to set, you know, get the plant down like without doing that, you have to do it in a safe spot, because this is just like a terrible spot to do it. Especially since you didn't, like, this Viper didn't tell anyone to watch Canteen, didn't if they wanted to plant here for B main. So you'll see the Killjoy just walk out and kill the Viper, and then you'll see the Sova get the trade, but then Chamber does the same exact thing and dies himself too. So there's one person B main that he just saw as he died, and there's one person in Gen. And now this is a very hard situation for the Sova. And mind you, the Sova's playing a post plant position before the bomb's down, which is like not the right play. But regardless, like all of this could have been avoided by just having proper game sense with how to play like when you're down man advantage, as well as being able to go ahead and use your wall like pre-round to try and like pressure and get information that way. Because if you use your wall early, they're forced to use utility to go ahead and tell you who's there. And if they use utility right off the bat, that's free information that they're giving you. So let's go ahead and take a look at another round. So before we talk about another round, actually, I want to talk about some default Viper setups you should have in your arsenal on the map of Fracture, because it's really important to know how to use your utility on Viper. So the walls I'm going to cover, I'm going to explain the reasoning on why they're good, but there's a wall that you can do like right here, for instance, if you aim your Viper wall from here to here, which covers rope and CT. And why that's good is because it gives you the option to go ahead and pressure sand, since your rope and your CT are going to be smoked by the Viper wall, as well as being able to go out A main, although they can be playing a closer angle here, so that's kind of like the trade-off. And then the other wall you can go ahead and do is have like a close wall where you're walling from A main or dish, and you want to hit this right side of dish with the wall, because if from the A main perspective, you're coming from A main, because that makes it so like all you have to worry about is sight, since it cuts the line of sight from anyone who's playing dish, as well as having the wall close to you A main, so it's a clear cut cross cover, you know, if you're walking out from A main. So these are good walls to have for the A side. Now let's talk about the B side. There's only one really good default wall that's like I think I really need to cover. It's that of like having this one on the attacker's perspective where you are cutting gen off. And the reason that's good is because most people like to go ahead and rotate safely through spawn, and especially if you ever catch yourself in a solo queue game where for some reason the enemy team doesn't have flashes, it happens all the time, they're going to really struggle versus Viper walls. So Phoenix flashes are kind of weak, but this is a good wall to have for the B side of attack on Fracture. Okay, and now let's talk about some defensive setups, because this is super important, as you will see later on into the video. But defensive setups, usually what you want your Viper, where you want your Viper walls, are like this one is a very good one on A main, because it makes it so it's very, very like pressured to come in through that tight choke point in A main, and you can go ahead and hold the wall. And they have to use utility if they want to go early, like start of the round through this A main Viper wall, and it gives you free information as to who's where. If you like, you see a whole bunch of util, a Viper molly, a fade, Phoenix flash, like it gives you that information. You can kind of start piecing together the information, and then the rest of your teammates can do something with that, as well as yourself, right? So it's very good to like have these kind of like aggressive walls in A main to give you that early information, as well as like to catch people off guard. And these kind of ratings too, like I'm sure you guys have seen it like in Silver and even in like Plat, like you'll see like players just run through Viper walls like dry without any utility and just like die, right? So it's very important to go ahead and use your walls like this on defense. So you can have your Viper wall here on A, you can have your Viper orb here in dish, and that way you're covered from both sides if you do want to play a more aggressive angle in A main, or if you want to play on site and only have to really think about one angle, right? So by either alternating your wall or alternating your orb. Also, this wall should be actually like here, since it'll cover more A main as well. So a little bit slight mistake on the drawing, but you get the general gist of this. So on defense, like on B, you can have like an arcade wall, but honestly, in my opinion, it's better to go ahead and play A on Viper on this map, since you can get a lot of value from your utility on the A side and kind of like single-handedly like hold that site in the case your team is like over-rotating a lot, and you'll get punished a little bit less for that. So you can really play around your utility easier on the A side. So I want to go ahead and take a look at this round. The main focus is going to be talking about Viper again in that lurk role and having map control, but I also want to talk about just a small point that you should always be aware of what ultimates you're coming up on for the rest of your team, right? So even though you're not the one playing Sage in this instance, it's good to remind your teammate that they're one away from Sage res. We can maybe get the orb and look for an aggressive peek, and then we can try and trade and then res, and then we'll have man advantage, right? So that's something that you can really think about, but the main focus again is the map control. Whenever you're 5-manning on a map like Fracture, where the defenders again have to think about taking space, otherwise they're going to get pinched, it's going to be a very hard scenario, and you're going to end up in a corner with your back towards the wall, right? Not only that, but you'll notice that our attackers are 5-manning on one side again, and they're playing the map incorrectly. They have no map control, they have no idea who's arcade, they could get walked out from under right now, they can get flanked. This is just a really bad situation that they're in right now when they're playing slow. Also, this Viper wall, not good at all, because you're kind of like Viper walling your entire team and beam in as well, as you just saw your Phoenix have the wall put up in his face as he's like peeking. So not the best case scenario. At the same time, Fade is flanking from A main. Raze is coming from under as well, and as you can see, they don't have the proper information. They have that herd mentality that I see a lot in these like lesser ratings, because people are scared to like kind of like diverge and make their own plays, and they just want to stick together because they think that's the best way to play the game. But in this case, like, you're running your head into a wall, so you always have to think about map control. It's okay to 5-man sometimes if you're going fast. You have to go fast, and if you are like slowed down when you're going fast, you have to think about taking map control back with utility, because they could be close, right, and flanking you. So very important to think about map control. And even though this might not seem like it's like the Viper's fault, it is, right? Because if you think about it, when it comes to map control, everyone can do it, but Viper is the one that like has like the best like use of it, if that makes sense, because you need Phoenix Flash for the entry, Phoenix ult for the entry, Sage is like a supporting character, Chamber can also lurk if he wants to, he has his TP for fast retake. Sova in this case probably not the best pick for Fracture, but still has utility that can help his team entry. So very important to note that map control for this player is something they really need to work on. So let's go ahead and talk about another big issue for the next round. So our silver player in this case has decent aim, but lacks knowledge on how to play their agent. And that was a major part on why they lost this game so close at 11-13, because this person didn't use their wall. Out of the 12 defense rounds, they used it one time, their Viper wall one time. And as you can see going into this round too, they're going to go ahead and not have their orb set up on drop. They don't have their wall down, and sometimes you can hold your wall for retake, but this person didn't use the wall at all. So like, it's not like they were holding it for retake, they just weren't thinking about the wall, right, and how to use it. And on top of that too, they're planning to go ahead and Viper ult, and this is very troll, because they're using a Vandal, I believe. And the reason that's troll is because whenever you spray a Vandal in a Viper ult, guess what? They can see your bullet tracers, right? So they're going to shoot back. So they know where you are, even though they can't physically see you, right? So you're just going to get sprayed down. So it's very important that whenever you're having like a Viper ult, you use a Phantom, and like maybe if you're broke, like a Spectre. You can also use a shotgun, since they're going to be decayed and it's just going to be like a one-shot kill. But you want to use these type of guns when you're using a Viper ult. At the start of this round too, like, they get the information that they're coming in through A main, and this Viper has their hands out like this out in the open with their ult out. In higher rating, you will get punished by your Raze just like satchel peeking in A main, right? Or like someone like fast coming through sand. So it's like very important to like not do this. Like you have to like either do it like pre-round, or like just do it a little bit quicker, so you don't get caught out. So now when they have the information they're coming A main, and this Chamber dies as well, you want to go ahead and Molly. Now they have the information that Fade is in drop as well, and again, since they don't have the orb, they have free reign on drop. They have the line of sight. If anyone comes rope, they have line of sight on sight. So it's no pressure for them on drop. They're getting pinched right now. Now Fade ults from drop, Killjoy jumps out of drop as well, since obviously they can do that since they can see everything, there's no orb. And now on top of it, there's no molly coming out. As this Viper is getting pinched, they need to molly A main, otherwise they can just walk in for free. Even though there's a Viper ult there, they'll still walk in, right? Whereas you have a molly there, they're gonna die to the molly and the decay, right? So Viper molly does 132 damage, it doubles the damage that you take as well. In addition to that decay, they can actually die if they're in there for a bit. So very, very bad use of utility here from the Viper, even though they do get one kill here in return. There's a lot that they did wrong in this case. They were not using their utility. They were using a Vandal in a Viper ult, and they had no like clear plan on how to play their character. They're kind of like on autopilot here. So this is what you need to do if you want to climb in rank. You can't be on autopilot. You have to think about specifically how you want to use your utility and what your plan is for that round. Alright, this is just a short aside I want to talk about, and that is, like, if your teammate walks through a Viper wall, you should not be baiting him, especially since if they don't die instantly, that means there's no one probably like on the other side at that moment, right? So you can help them take map control, and it's something that I see like all the time. So just make sure that in the case like your Phoenix does walk out, or like your teammate in this case walks out, then you just walk out as well. Okay, now I want to talk about this round because it kind of goes full circle to what I was talking about before. This player is going to get punished by the opposing Viper and sort of get Viper diffed in the sense that they're going to lurk and make a play to go ahead and open up the map. So there was an over rotation here, and this happens all the time at these ratings where 4 people, they hear like a footstep and they're like, they're going A, and then they just all run to A, right? So it happens all the time. And now this poor Sova is alone on the B site by himself, and he can't watch both B main and arcade, so let's end up seeing what's happening. And the other thing I just want to note is this Viper should be not walking around spawn with a knife. They should be ready to molly, ready to fight, to stop down the push. So as you can see on the minimap, Sova gets timinged. He heard a footstep, and B main or whatever, and then he gets shot from arcade as well. So like he can't watch both angles at once, and this is like a failure to go ahead and read the map from everyone in this game, right? So this was like a tough scenario to like be in. So they kill the Raze, they get the pick on B, and now since they're not hitting, you should definitely understand that, hey, they're probably rotating. They have the entirety of B, and if you think about it, they saw the chamber, they saw the slow orb and the Odin Sage. Phoenix showed himself as well with his utility, and then Viper as well just mollied, right? So they know there's 4 people here, right? And that's there's 4 people alive, so they know everyone's on A. So you have to understand that maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and gamble B, or at least send some people back to retake that space, knowing that Phoenix is probably going to be pushed up. Okay, so let's go ahead and play out this round. Phoenix, the opposing Phoenix rather, is going to ult in their spawn. That's what you just heard? And they're kind of like oblivious to it. There it is. They break the ult, and now this is tragic because the enemy Viper now has a Viper ult onto the B site. And as a result of this, even though they have man advantage, it's going to be very hard to go ahead and retake this. The other thing I just want to say is whenever someone's down in numbers, remember there's always going to be an aggro play, so you have to be wary of like these close angles and an aggressive play. And you just know the Phoenix ulted, that's probably from pretty close by, right, as to where he ulted. So it's very important to know they're going to look for an aggro play, and as you can see here, there's going to be a Phoenix here close left. They don't actually properly clear this angle, and they get shot on the side. Phoenix completely whiffs on the other Phoenix, and basically this round goes to heck, and everyone just ends up dying. They get aced by the Phoenix, but this is just a general like tip on like awareness and being able to read the map, as well as like understanding that these are like the weak spots in your gameplay. And I think that if this Viper does fix this, they can be like at least a gold, at least a plat, at least a even diamond player within the next week. Like I really think this progress, if you're like really disciplined and you understand that those are your weaknesses, you will climb really, really fast. But with that being said, thank you for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like and comment for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to my channel for future content, and check out my other videos as well if you are committed to becoming a better player, because they're guaranteed to help you do that. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.